do this the opposite way.
High fly ball, deep left field. Oh, 27 does it again.
Gone. Fernando Tatis Jr. with a 2-run shot has the Padres on the board. Ball and 2 strikes to Shohei here. Oh,
Got it, got it, got it! 33!
Oh, wow. Where did that one go? That's his 11th home run.
Driven out to deep center field. Going back, Springer, turning, looking, see ya! Oh, what a shot by Judge! The Yankees lead 1-0.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Free Baseball episode. Let me check at the rundown. It's episode 13. Isaiah's going to be joining us in a little bit. We got a lot to talk about. Been a couple hot weeks. Player of the months have come out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're going to start really quick with number one baseball news. Good news. Ronald Acuña Jr. has returned to the Atlanta Braves. Potentially the best player in baseball when he's actually healthy. Up there, maybe Mike Trout still has something to say about that. He's been on a tear this year, but Acuña's back up, and the Braves finally get a little bit of help. Their offense has kind of been a little bit sluggish to start the year. I mean, what do you have to say about it? We all know how good Ronald Acuña Jr. is, Jake.
Yeah, Ronald is dope. I love watching Ronald. I'd like to apologize in advance for any of the listeners that can tell that I'm a little sick, but I'm going to push through it. But Ronald is incredible. He was also a little sick with the ACL tear for the last year or so, but now he's back. He is one of the most exciting players in baseball. It's like him and Tatis are like 1 and 2 up there, 1A, 1B. The power speed, I don't know. There's not much else to say about Acuña except for it's good for baseball to have him back. And once we have Tatis back, I feel like the sport will feel complete again.
Yeah, I agree. It always sucks having the game's best players be out with injury. And I mean, the Braves obviously won last year without him. But I mean, we all missed out on half a season plus the playoffs, a deep playoff run of Ronald Acuña Jr. And that sucks all around. So we're all excited to see him back. NL East, opposing NL East fans probably aren't, but moving on, we'll talk about some hot weeks that a couple players had, and we'll do a little bit of a buy or sell. I guess I'll kick it off. The AL player of the week was Taylor Ward. 31 plate appearances, collected a 4.48 average, scored 10 runs in a week, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. That's good for a 1484 OPS. Are you buying or selling Taylor Ward, Jake?
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a lot of buying for this section because I feel like I'm buying Taylor Ward. He's showing up Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. He's like, I'm move aside former MVPs. I'm the best player in Anaheim. He's just been insane. And Joe Madden had like that preseason confidence in him, was like he's going to have like one of the everyday jobs in the outfield. And that sort of seemed weird when you have Mike Trout, Brandon Marsh, and Joe Adell. It was like, oh, you're really going to platoon like 2 of these top prospects for a guy that hasn't really shown much in the majors and is like, I don't know, like 27, 28 years old, but he is proving Joe Madden right, showing that confidence in him was founded. But yeah, he's been crazy, showing some great power, and I think I'm gonna buy. He's got some really great Statcast metrics. He's in an amazing lineup. He's been leading off. I think he's obviously not going to keep up at 1484 OPS, but I'm buying that he is actually a really solid player this year.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I mean, he's just been one of the bright spots in a really, really strong offense that's got, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, those 2 young guys, Adell and Marsh. I know Adell started a little slow, but it's starting to turn it around. Rendon's still there, Jared Walsh, and then Taylor Ward, who's kind of like a 28-year-old like role player. It's really showing out. It's really cool to see, just for the story alone. And that factor, I think I'd have to buy him. We'll talk about the NL player of the week too. And I know this is already a guy that you're really high on, so I know what you're going to say. And it's the Milwaukee Brewers, Willy Adames. He had 32 plate appearances as the NL player of the week. He collected a 310 average, scored 6 runs. He had 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, and that's for a 1203 OPS. I already know what you're going to say, but I'll just let you go ahead and butter up your guy, Willie Adames.
Yeah, I mean, I bought into him this offseason, so I'm buying into this now. He got off to a pretty slow start, and then he just really broke out. I think he had a 2 home run game with 7 RBIs in one game. That was pretty crazy. So he's looking like the real deal again, showing that last year's second half run with the Brewers was actually the type of player he is, and that he was really, really affected by the trop in Tampa Bay. But yeah, he's looking like one of the best shortstops in the league, and as league offense is down, he's thriving.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'll always kind of be iffy on Brewers players just because right here. But he is a great player, and getting out of Tropicana and getting out of Tampa Bay has just been a major spark to his career in Milwaukee, and he's basically been their best hitter since he's been there. Obviously including Christian Yelich and everything there. But yeah, I'd have to buy this too, begrudgingly. Hate to see the Brewers do good, but Willie Adames is a great player. So moving on, we'll talk about Dane Dunning. Dane Dunning had 2 starts last week. On the 25th against Houston, and on the 30th against Atlanta. Against Houston, he threw 5 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, just 2 earned. 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and then against the reigning World Series champion Atlanta Braves, he went 7 2/3, gave up 4 hits, just the 1 earned this time, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. How are you feeling about Dane Dunning and the Texas Rangers?
I'm not really sure. I feel like it's a sell for me. Dunning hasn't really been that amazing in the past. He's not like super young for a guy that seems to have had a short career so far, but he was really impressive on the 30th versus the Braves. Like you said, 7 2/3 is pretty impressive at this point in the season and for a player of his caliber. But I don't think he's going to be pitching at that level going forward. He does have a little bit of potential, so maybe the Rangers are finally figuring it out, but they have not had the best pitching development so far in recent years. So I'm not really sure what to buy in. I haven't seen the whiffs and CSW numbers for Dunning from that start. So I'm not totally sure what to buy in, meaning I haven't read Pitcher List's little blurb about that start. So I don't know whether to buy it going forward, but I'm going to go sell.
Yeah, I think I'm probably right there with you on the sell. There's some numbers that look pretty strong. I mean, he's more of a command guy, but he's striking out on average 1 batter an inning, which is pretty good. He's given up the 11 runs this year. 2 starts, though. I mean, I'm not really going to completely change my tune on a guy who's been pretty uneventful so far in his career. I mean, like you said, he's still a guy with some potential, but he's also 27, and he's on the Rangers, and they really need every bit of pitching that can develop. So I'm hoping for their sake that he turns out and comes good, but I don't know. I don't really ever see him more as like a 4 or 5 starter.
Fully agree.
Yeah. So a couple other news things we'll talk about. A few smaller ones, a few big things. Unfortunate news for Kansas City as Adalberto Mondesi is ruled out for the year with an ACL tear, and it seems like the Royals and this guy just can't catch a break. Mondesi has stayed hurt for a lot of his major league career, and he's a guy with a lot of potential. He was supposed to have a really good contact tool, switch hitter, insanely fast, pretty solid glove, and then he just can't stay healthy. And even more now with the ACL tear, it sucks all around for the Royals, who need, like we said with the Rangers and their pitching, the Royals basically need every bit of their young players to come good because they've been bad for so long, ever since they won the World Series in 2015. This just sucks to see another young player with some promise get hurt. It sucks to see any player get hurt, but especially right now.
Yeah, we got Ronald back, and we lost somebody else to an ACL tear. It's really too bad. Mondesi is one of those really exciting players where he's just super fast. He may not have the biggest bat in the lineup, but he is his speed is just another level. So let's hope he can come back in full from an injury that should more than likely have some effect on his legs. But it's pretty crazy. I was doing this application for Baseball HQ to be a writer for them on a part-time basis, and they had some hypothetical news that would happen to like for me to write about, and one of them was Adalberto Mondesi tearing his MCL. And that
That's
was like 2
crazy.
weeks ago. And I was like, what? Because I
That's
was writing
crazy.
it like as the news came out that he tore his ACL, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh God, they better stop doing these hypothetical injuries or they're gonna start really ruining the whole world. But yeah,
They're
that's pretty crazy.
jinxing everybody. That's crazy.
Yeah, but Mondesi has really always dealt with injuries. I don't think he's played
Mhm.
longer than like a 3-month span in one go before. So I don't know. It's like you expect him to get injured at some point, and it sucks that he's out for the whole year after just a few weeks.
Yeah, it's never good to see something like that. It is good, however, to see the league crack down
Finally.
on something that needed to be done. And in my opinion, I'm sure Jake shares the same opinion. Trevor Bauer has been handed a 2-year suspension, which will equate to 324 games that he is not allowed to play professional baseball. This, of course, is unpaid. It's a suspension. It's not administrative leave like he was placed on last year during the investigation. Violence towards women is never okay. It never will be okay. It shouldn't be tolerated. Domestic violence in general, stuff like that, should not be tolerated. And Trevor Bauer has reaped what he's sown, and he's going to be suspended for 2 years away from baseball. And probably when he comes back, some team will pick him up. Maybe strong chance he'll be persona non grata. Huge blow for Trevor Bauer, but it's good for baseball, and it's good to see them set this precedent that, hey, we're not going to tolerate stuff like this. If you're really going to be a monster, we're not going to allow this. Like,
yeah, it's definitely it's definitely deserving. I totally believe that he's deserving of this. It's probably partially due to like how public he's been through this whole process too, because we really have never seen a suspension of this kind. The only suspensions that we've seen longer than this were like complete banishments from baseball, and that's for guys like Pete Rose, like Shoeless Joe, and like some of the other guys that did PEDs like 4 times or whatever that just got completely banned. But no player has ever been suspended for more than a year for anything, other than the complete banishments. Like we've seen multiple year suspensions for a couple owners. I think one of the Steinbreiners and one of the Reds past owners for different things. But yeah, Bauer getting the 2-year suspension. We were talking about before we hit record that we were not like fans of Bauer before he went through this whole process, but he was sort of growing the game in a way that many players weren't, by like, I don't know, being exciting on the mound and doing a whole YouTube video and YouTube channel and everything. And once this stuff came out, we were just like, all right, no, it's not worth it anymore to support this guy, even if he's trying to grow the game. But yeah, it was a bad luck for baseball for the last like year and a half as they kept extending his administrative leave. It just felt like they were just kicking the can down the road. Like they didn't want to make a decision. They didn't want to have it be like big news. So they waited until like partial into this season so that it would sort of get buried by other things. It sort of did. So I guess it sort of worked, but either way, I'm on MLB's side. And this is one of Rob Manfred's first smart moves that he's made in a long time.
Right. And I know it comes along with like the precedent of like, oh, well, he wasn't charged, but like still, I mean, you can't have this surrounding the game. And you can't have this surrounding the guy that literally was either reigning Cy Young winner. Like you can't have this around the game at all, especially with a huge in general. I want to say with like a huge market team with like the Dodgers, but even if he was with a smaller market team, it doesn't make it okay. It's just, like I said, it's a bad look for baseball. He is going to appeal the ban, is what I've read. But also more women are coming forward and also accusing him with these allegations as well. So, potential chance he just never plays again.
Yep.
Yeah. Moving on. A little bit of Mets news, the good kind and then the bad kind, but maybe the good kind too. The Mets have thrown a combined no-hitter. It's cool, combined no-hitters. For me, a combined no-hitter is not like as magical as like a no-hitter, but still really cool to see. First one of the year. So cool thing to see. Congratulations, Mets.
I think it's just
really good this year.
I think it's just the second in Mets history, other than the Johan Santana one from a decade ago. So that's pretty cool. So definitely it feels good for them. I saw people talking on Twitter like, "Do you think this is a real no hitter?" I'm just like, it's a real no hitter. Yes. Is
The
it
other
as
team didn't
cool
get
as
any
a
hits. Like,
yeah, exactly. Is it
no
as
hitter.
cool as a starter doing it by himself? No,
No.
but it's still a real no hitter. Definitely cool for Mets fans. Edwin Diaz's entrance during that was really cool. He had the whole trumpets playing during his entrance to shut down the game, and they were wearing the black jerseys too. So I think that added to it as well. But yeah, congrats to the Mets. First no hitter of the year, like you said.
Yeah, cool to see. Yeah, combined no hitter. It's still a no hitter. It's just not as cool, but still a no hitter. It's no hitters are cool. It's good for baseball. Good to see cool stuff like that. And then some new Mets news that came out today is Robinson Cano and his albatross of $40.5 million contract that he was due. He's been DFA'd, so I guarantee no team is going to pick him up. So he's going to be a free agent, and he's going to be away from the New York Mets. Good for the Mets. I know they're going all in, and freeing up a roster spot at the cost of eating $40 million is like a big baller move by Steve Cohen, I think. Really just kind of showing like, oh, well, $40 million is $40 million. I'll just go get someone else. Like, that's cool. Bad for Robinson Cano, who has obviously not aged very gracefully, not aged gracefully in the public eye either, with all the steroid black eye suspensions. Yeah, it's more bad news for Robinson Cano.
Good for the Mets, though. They got rid of an empty bat, an empty roster spot that he really wasn't doing much. He was of holding the team back. Hey, we got Isaiah. Let's go.
Let's get him in here.
Oh, wait a second. Good? Hang on. Can't hear you guys. Oh, shoot.
Uh-oh.
All right, there you go. Can hear you.
What's good? We were just talking about the Robinson Cano being DFA'd. We were saying that he's an empty roster spot, and they finally got rid of him.
It was time. It was time for Cano. He hasn't been the same since he left. Since he left us. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
True. Yeah. So you came at the perfect time because we just finished up the recent news and the opening stuff, and now we're moving on to the April month in review. And so if you got the rundown up, we're about to hit on the league leaders and everything.
Nice. So yeah, it's been, I don't know. I mean, I feel really good, by the way, aside from coming here late. It's just maybe it's a little bit of arrogance at the Yankees and everything. So I mean, if you guys, you could keep going as you going, and I'll give my takes as I do. Just
okay.
Mark Gooden for the Federalist in New York just tweeted that Steve Cohen sent Brodie Van Wagenen a $40 million bill for their money left on Robinson Cano's contract.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah. There's been lots of DFAs recently in the league. We saw Aristides Aquino leave the Reds. Yeah, we saw Bobby Bradley and Logan Allen from the Guardians get DFA'd. We saw Isan Diaz land with the Giants after being DFA'd. So there's been lots of DFAs, and we haven't seen Justin Upton land with the team either. So Robbie Cano could be right in the free agency wire with Upton by his side for a while, but we'll see if he lands with the squad.
And you got to wonder if he even wants to land with a squad. You go from making so much money as you've been your whole career, and now you're going to sign with for a league minimum in your 40s. I don't know if that's his desire. He's always been a lazy player. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know what the passion's there.
Well, he's still due the $40 million from his contract, but
exactly. So
I mean, he's going to sign somewhere. The question is, will a team really want him? Because he's a net negative bat. He can't field anymore either. Like, I don't really understand what value you get from having Robinson Cano other than saying like, oh, look, cool, we got Robinson Cano. Like, I don't know. A bunch of the DFAs I thought were weird. Like me and Jake talked about Isan Diaz landing with the Giants. He's going to be a player that's going to somehow come up and hit 30 home runs for the Giants, which is going to be really annoying.
No, it won't.
Well, annoying for everyone else. I'm tired of the Giants cheating lab figuring out how to make everyone good. Aristides Aquino I thought was a crazy one too, because I mean, what happened to that? What happened to that guy? I mean, he came up and he was like one of the most feared sluggers like of the entire year. Right after he came up, and when he hit like 7 home runs in a row, or like hit a home run in 7 games in a row, or 8 games in a row, or something like that. And now he's like he's just DFA'd. Someone's going to have to pick him up. And he got DFA'd by the Reds, who are by far and away the worst team in baseball right now. It's been a weird week. Speaking of that, we'll talk about the April month in review, like Jake said. Go over some let's go over some league leaders first before we talk about a little bit of divisional standings. Let's talk about the league leaders in average, which the AL is Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox, and the NL is Eric Hosmer of the San Diego Padres, a man that I know I have personally slandered on this podcast more than once. Am I eating my words yet? I don't think so. What do you guys think?
I'm especially happy about the Eric Hosmer situation just because I had him in a contract league, and he's due $13 million over the next course 3 years, including $20 million this year. So I was finally able to sell him, for Luke Voigt, and I had to pay like half his contract, but nevertheless got rid of him. So do I think it's going to hold up with Eric Hosmer? I don't think you're going to eat your words at all. No, not at all. Not even a little bit. But you got to give him credit. He's not a bad player. He never was a bad player. He's just not worth the money that he's getting.
Right.
And as far as the AL, are we really surprised about Xander Bogaerts? I'm not at all. As much as I would like to say, I am surprised about who's not anywhere on that list, though. And that's, I guess, we'll probably get to that later. But Trevor Story, he's not even nowhere to be found. So.
Yeah, he's been not too great so far in his first year with the Red Sox. I don't have him anywhere on the rundown because it was more of like a positive, especially with league leaders and players of the month and stuff. So he was nowhere near it. But yeah, I was pretty surprised to see Bogaerts because he's been having he had a quiet month. And just a disclaimer is these are through the month of April, so these aren't counting the first day of May. I'm sure that makes sense for most viewers, but I just wanted to put that out there. Like I was saying, I was surprised to see Bogaerts. He's had a quiet 375 average month, which is crazy to do that. And Hosmer has just been hitting the ball hard. Sometimes he gets the ball in the air. I think he only has a couple home runs, but he's somehow batting 389. So that's pretty crazy. He obviously will not keep that up. He's been a guy that has no. He just left for a second.
Okay.
He'll be back. But yeah, Hosmer's been a guy that has had an up and down career. He seems to be one of those like every other year guys. So maybe he'll have an above average year this year, but he's been below league average in WRC plus the last 2 years. So I don't know if he can keep it up.
Yeah, I'm a hater. I'm born a hater, especially Eric Hosmer. I like Isaiah said, I don't think he's a bad player, but I just genuinely don't think he's worth the money that they're paying him. The Padres don't think that either. That's why they were trying to trade him so bad. We'll talk about the hits leaders. We'll see a recurring face here. The AL hits leader is Xander Bogaerts. And the NL hits leader is Eric Hosmer's teammate. I believe he also finished second in the NL for batting average for the month of April, and that's Manny Machado. And I talked about Manny Machado. We did too last week, talking about Miguel Cabrera, which players we think have the best chance next to get to 3,000 hits. Manny Machado, kind of, maybe prove me right. Will he keep up the pace? Maybe not. I just think I love Manny Machado. He's so quietly incredible at baseball, and it seems like he just won't ever get the recognition. It's mainly because he played for several bad Orioles teams, and now he's not the best player on his team now, even though they are paying him, an obscene amount of money. Machado is just a freak.
Yeah, he's been pretty good so far. 4 homers and 4 steals as well. All right, we got him back. Yeah, we're just talking about the hits leaders right now. Bogaerts and Machado. But Machado, like you were saying, Davis, he's been pretty impressive. He's stealing bases, he's hitting dingers, he's making up for Tatis being out of the lineup, and we already spoke about Bogaerts. He's got 30 hits, so pretty impressive from both of them.
Machado, the hits leader in all of baseball.
Yeah, he's really underrated at this point. I mean, a lot of it's on him because he signed that big contract and he got off to a really slow start. You know what I mean? And I think people just forgot how good he was, and they just haven't been reminded. But we see him. We see him defensively, offensively. Obviously, he can yeah.
Big Machado guy, huge Machado guy. Moving on, we'll see a couple more recurring faces here in the runs category. AL has actually got a tied leader for April in runs, and that's Miles Straw, Cleveland Indians and Yankees fighting fame. Tied with 17 runs with the GOAT, Shohei Ohtani. And the NL The NL leader in runs is that man, Manny Machado.
Mm-hmm.
No, we already talked about Machado. You guys want to talk about Miles Straw and Shohei Ohtani?
I don't want to talk about Miles Straw right now. No, but you gotta say, like, I mean, Ohtani, are we really too surprised? Yes, because scoring him in, like they're actually scoring, they actually have a good record. The Angels do, so that's a bit of a shock to me. But as far as Miles Straw, I mean, hey, he just signed a big contract, so he's gonna go out there and just play hard with his best friend, as we said, and he's fired up after what happened at Yankee Stadium. I don't blame him. And by the way, I wasn't here last week, but shame to any Yankee fan and those Yankee fans in that stadium that were in support of. Now I did see what he said, Miles Straw, like later on, but still, you don't throw stuff, you don't act classy. The Yankee fans are the first one. They want all their players to be class personified. I see it. I'm in these groups, like, I want you want the facial hair cut down, but you can't even act accordingly. And it doesn't go to all Yankee fans. Obviously, I'm one of them, but there's a lot of them, and there's just too many of them in the groups and everything that were defending that fan. Anyway, that's besides the point. So Miles Straw, good up. I mean, I got nothing to say bad about him, so he's good.
Yeah, Davis taught me that Miles Straw got that dog in him.
Yeah, had 100 percentile and got that dog in him on Baseball Savant. Also 100 percentile in That Boy Nice. Also, he's actually hitting really well to start the year, especially considering like the pace he was on last year. He's a below average hitter. He's mainly just kind of been around a league average, and he's known for his speed, and he's finally starting to really put the ball in play and hit for some contact. He's got a 131 WRC plus right now too, hitting for a 289 average as well. He's getting on base, and I think that's the big thing too. And he's got a 289 average. He's got a 388 on base, and he's one of the fastest players in baseball. So letting him get on base and actually getting on base for a Guardians lineup that's actually been surprisingly good. I know we kind of gave them a hard time during the offseason for basically not adding anyone, but he's been really good, and their lineup has been really good with Steven Kwan, who we'll talk about later.
If you're getting on base in front of Jose Ramirez, you're going to score a lot of runs.
Right. That's probably why they're best friends. Yeah, so that's good to see. Let's talk about the home run leaders. We got some names here that I know I'm a big fan of. I know Isaiah will want to talk about the AL home run leader, which of course is Big Tony from the Bronx, Anthony Rizzo, leading all of baseball for home runs with 9. Yeah, he's a freak. Italian stallion, Anthony Rizzo, the goat, my goat. 9 home runs. I love seeing that. Hate seeing it for the Yankees. Love seeing it though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching these games. A lot of them are like wall scraper home runs. But hey, at the end of the day, you play in Yankee Stadium. That's what's going to happen. You're going to hit those home runs, and as long as you take advantage, I don't care where you hit it. I don't care if it's like a centimeter over the wall. As long as you keep hitting them. He had that 3-homer night, and these are big home runs, by the way. They're not just like pile on runs. He's been consistently consistent. Probably the only one. I mean, no, the Yankees are hitting pretty well, but he's been like that. Just like it's like a weird feeling. When he's up, you just have a. You just sense that something's good's gonna happen. I know Davis probably felt that once upon a time, and we feel it now. And he's in good hands, and the Yankee fans actually love Rizzo. So, doing well over here.
Yeah, pretty impressive from a guy that wasn't too hot when he got traded over to the Yankees last year. I had him on my fantasy team, so I was like pumped. I was like, oh, he's got that short porch. He's gonna go off, and he did not. So then I started doubting him a little, but he is putting that doubt to rest pretty fast. Like you said, he hit a third of his home runs on the season in that one game, and there are a lot of wall scrapers. But I mean, he's just taking full advantage of what he's given to him. And you could say the same for the NL home run leader, CJ Cron, who's got 7. I drafted him in fantasy this year. I was telling Davis about how he ended up on my team this year when I wanted Joey Votto, and it's been totally fine with me. He hit his 8th home run yesterday too, but he had 7 in the month of April. But pretty impressive, not just hitting dingers and cores, hitting them all over the place. He's been one of the best power hitters in baseball, and he's never hit more than 30 home runs in a year. So it would be crazy to see him continue a league leading pace, because that would be a career season for Crone.
Oh yeah, I think he hit 28 last year, and he personally victimized the Chicago Cubs in their series against them. He hit 3 home runs, and one of them was an absolute tank. And that's what's like amazing about Crone. He's got huge power. Obviously, he's playing in cores. He hit a home run that almost hits a scoreboard on the concourse. He's just CJ Crone, so underrated too, especially playing for. He's kind of been like a journeyman, like more or less all over the place, and now kind of landing and settling with the Rockies. And it's looking like a really good spot for him. On the note of talking about Miles Straw and talking about CJ Crone, the RBI leaders for the month of April, Jose Ramirez led all of baseball in RBIs of 28, which is just incredible in 1 month. Driving in Miles Straw all those times, I'm sure. And the NL leader in RBIs is not quite up to 28. It's CJ Crone with 19. J-Ram. Is J-Ram like an MVP frontrunner this year? I think so. I think he has to be considered there. I know we talked about him a couple podcasts ago. For my money, I think he's the best third baseman in baseball. And he's really showing it so far, especially with the bat.
I mean, it's hard to argue it right now. You said in baseball, I really I gotta think about that one. I really do. I got to be honest. Machado, I don't know, but yeah, he's been well rounded, and he's naturally going to be kind of underrated, even though we recognize how great he is over there in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wonder, out of those 28 runs, were 19 of them Miles Straw? Is very possible. So, hey, what can you say? I mean, you got to take advantage of what you have, and they're going to be together for a while. So. Ramirez, there's not much to say that hasn't been said about him. He's been consistently consistent, like I said earlier about Rizzo, constantly. So
he's so good. It's crazy. He was my first pick in my home fantasy league, and it's just like every other day he's hitting like 2 home runs. He just will hit them off any pitcher. He hit a dinger off Shohei the other day. He is just unstoppable. He's a switch hitter too, which makes it all the more impressive. And the craziest part is that in the preseason, MLB put out a graphic with like AL MVP front runners, NL MVP front runners. He was not even on the AL MVP graphic, which is super messed up, especially because he's finished like top 3 in like 3 of the last 4 years. Dumb. So completely deserving, but he is out to prove everybody wrong, and he's looking for his first MVP. And I think he can finally do it this year. And I am, of course, rooting for him big time.
Oh yeah. Love Jose Ramirez. Looking at his Fangraphs page, just buying a ticket straight to my heart. He has walked more than he struck out on the year too, leading the league in RBIs and 7 home runs. It's just incredible. What a stud. We talked about Miles Straw and his speed. Let's talk about a couple other players known for their speed, wreaking havoc on the base pass, stolen bases. They've been down in the last 10 years or whatever. We're not getting major base stealers anymore. But Julio Rodriguez, J-Rod, the rookie, leading all of baseball in the month of April with 9 steals. Yeah. Just hit his first home run yesterday. Don't let that man get hot. And the NL leader in stolen bases is I almost said the Arizona Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals, Harrison Bader, with 6. So it's cool seeing stolen bases. Everyone likes a good steal every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really feeling the fruits of what is Julio Rodriguez. I also have him on my fantasy team, on one of them. And lately, he's been really a nice pickup. I mean, I looked at the numbers and I see his batting average is low, but the past 15 games, he's really just picked it up. Like, he got off to that relatively slow start, but he looks like he's the real deal. And I don't think the numbers show how good he's been. But I'm seeing it on a game-by-game basis. I look at there, it's like, oh, he got an RBI. Oh, he has a stolen base. It's like every single day, and I'm happy to see it because it's one of the guys I was hoping that would come to fruition because you saw the interview. I mean, the guy, he's a really – did I call him a guy? Am I old enough to start calling people kids yet? Anyway, so he's a really good kid, and I want to see him do well. So, hey, lead the league in stolen bases, and he's going to smack a couple home runs too, I believe. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's been making up for the slow bat. I really didn't know that he was this fast. Like I knew he was like a power speed guy, but I didn't know he was like, oh, I could lead the majors in stolen bases. And like obviously that's a lot of just like you got to want to do it. And Julio wants to do it. He's like, I'm going to make up for not having hit home runs. I'm going to make up for not for getting rung up on pitches outside of the zone. I'm just going to steal bases, be aggressive on the bases. And that's crazy. He's already at 9. He's on pace for almost 60 stolen bases right now. That would be crazy. And if he could add the power to his game that he showed in the minors, then he will really be the next like Ronald Acuña, maybe with a Juan Soto plate discipline. So Julio might have a chance to be one of the best players in the game in just a few short years. And Harrison Bader, the NL leader, just quietly stealing bases, providing solid defense in center. He hasn't had the best bat so far, but he is also making up for it on the bases.
Yeah, Bader basically is being Harrison Bader right now. Everyone knows he's incredibly fast, great glove, not a really great hitter, but once he gets on base, he's a threat with his speed. Talking about threats with the bat, OPS leaders for the AL are Mike Trout, the actual GOAT, and for the AL, obviously, and for the National League, Nolan Arenado is leading the National League with a 1.125 OPS. And I talked about J-Ram being the best third baseman in the game. Nolan Arenado is pushing him, and he's pushing him hard, especially to start the year.
Mike Trout, nothing to be said. I mean, he's coming back from an injury, and I'm glad that he is still Mike Trout because I was worried, of course, I think he's probably a Hall of Famer already, but you don't want to see him just stop and pull like an Andrew Jones or a Ken Griffey Jr. or anything like that. You want to see him fully capable throughout his. But Nolan Arenado, let's start there because I've always kind of doubted him. Like I think I know I'm not the only baseball fan here. Where it's like of course. And, he's in St. Louis. I don't think he's going to be as effective, but year in and year out, he continues to prove us wrong. And I keep doubting him, and I don't know why. And I feel like I'm going to keep doubting him because I'm not necessarily buying it for the full course of the season. But I mean, he needs to be for St. Louis to be any good. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people forgot how good Mike Trout was when he wasn't playing the whole last half a year. So he is really showing everybody hey, I hope you guys didn't forget that I'm one of the best players of all time. So here I am. And Arenado, excuse me, we talked about in the preseason, he said he wasn't happy with how he performed in his first year in St. Louis. And so he went out and tried to fix his swing, and that looks like it's finally paying off. And he's looking like he's actually getting back to what he was doing in Coors, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Arenado, I keep making fun of his name because that's how every Coast fan makes fun of the Cardinals on Twitter. I keep calling him Norman Arenado. Yeah, Nolan's just really good. Everyone knows he's got the insane glove. He hits for a ton of power, and I think it was just a matter of time before he really started hitting in in St. Louis. They have a pretty solid offense. It's not a great one, but it's not like he had a really great offense in Coors either. It's just a good environment. Arenado, he's going to hit for a ton of power, and I think he's really going to press for NL MVP this year if he keeps up this pace. Obviously, right up there, probably with and I think the NL front runner right now for me is probably Manny Machado. He's been. We'll talk about it here in a second. I mean, Nolan, he's just so good. The game's incredibly rich now with talent at third base.
Yeah.
And talking about the league leaders in F4, that'll be represented too. The AL, obviously, their AL leader in F4 is Jose Ramirez, and the NL leader in F4 is Manny Machado, representing two great players. We've talked about both third basemen, and they've been the best players in all of baseball by WAR. Yeah, they're just great. We won't talk about them a whole lot. Pick up the pace a little bit to get through everything we want to talk about. We've already talked about enough about Jose Ramirez and Manny Machado. Yes. Moving on to pitcher wins. Me and Jake talked about this one. We thought it was really, really weird. The AL leaders in wins are a joint leader in wins, and they both belong to the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Alek Manoah. That makes sense. They both have 4 also. And the other man that has 4 is Adam Simber, sidewinder reliever out of their bullpen. He has 4 wins somehow, and he's thrown 11 innings. Which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Baseball is weird.
Yeah, he's just coming in at the opportune times. But Alek Manoah, I'm so glad. Another one. I know we keep going back to fantasy, but I'm so glad I hit on him. What can you say about him? He looks like he's going to be a gamer for a long time. Honestly, I did watch a game the other day with him pitching, and when I watch him, I can just get the sense that he's been here for like 10 years, and literally he's just starting off his career. Just with how he carries himself, he's just confident. You know, he just looks like a threat. I would hate to face him if I was any good at baseball.
Yeah, he's a beast. He just looks so comfortable on the mound, and he's such like an intimidating force out there, just like a huge guy. They call him the Mountain sometimes. Yeah, not much else to say about Manoah. He's pretty good. And Tyler McGill in the NL with 4.
Oh yeah,
he was the surprise opening day starter for the Mets, and he's shown that he sort of deserved it. You know, you didn't really think that the Mets have Chris Bassett, they have Max Scherzer, they have Jacob deGrom, and you're going to start this guy Tyler McGill, who's in his second season of his career, and he said, "Hey, whoa, I'm actually the best starter on this team. Back off." And he's proven himself so far in the first month.
Yeah, Tyler McGill also. We talked about the Mets no-hitter and hit the Phillies on the 29th. He was the one that earned the win in that game through 5 innings.
He was the starter.
As part of the that no-hit bid. McGill's just really good. Manoah also really good. The Blue Jays rotation, we talked about them so much. They're just incredible already. We'll mention another one here in a minute. But Manoah, I mean, like, it's crazy that he's been this good, and you can make an argument he's not the best starting pitcher on his team, which is incredible. Talking about saves, we'll have another Blue Jay here. Best team in baseball, according to me and Jake, for the start of the year. AL leader in saves is, of course, Toronto Blue Jay Jordan Romano, and the NL leader in saves is Josh Hader for the Milwaukee Brewers. No one's surprised by Hader. You know, he's Josh Hader. He's probably the best closer in all of baseball still. He's just incredible. But Jordan Romano, I mean, he was really strong last year down the stretch, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, the Blue Jays need help in their bullpen." Like, well, you have an excellent closer in Romano already.
It's so scary as a Yankee fan because I know we're at the top, and I feel good. But I know what's coming, and in, like the one weakness that I'm banking on with Toronto is their bullpen. So the fact that he is leading the league in saves right now, and they haven't even reached what they're going to reach over the course of the season is really scary as a Yankee fan. And yeah, I have to say, I believe I agree that they're the best team in baseball, even though the record does not state it right now.
Yeah, they're just so good. And yeah, not much else to say about Hader. He was the cover boy for my top fantasy performers week 3 on the athletesub.org. Check it out. And Romano has just been locked down in the 9th inning. The only thing to worry about is whether or not he gets overused, because they don't really have a lot of other guys. Obviously they have Adam Simber, but other than Romano, there's not much else in that bullpen. So hopefully Romano can stay healthy throughout the year, stay as effective as he has been in April.
Adam Simber, we talked about it before the start of the podcast too. He has 4 wins and a save. It's just so
Cy Young.
stupid. Oh yeah.
This guy's doing starting and closing.
What a freak. Really quickly, we'll go through a couple more pitcher things. League leaders in innings pitched. The AL, with both of them have 30 and a third innings pitched. For the AL, it's Robbie Ray, new Seattle Mariner. The NL is Jake's boy Logan Webb. I'll let you go ahead and gush over Logan Webb if you want to, Jake.
Yeah. Rockland High School product, Logan Webb, just killing it out there. I think it's just because he's so young, you know, that they feel comfortable in riding his arm. Robbie Ray hasn't been as effective as he was last year when he won the Cy Young, but he's eaten innings for the Mariners. They sort of need that. His velo's been down, but he's still been effective enough. And Logan Webb is one of the best pitchers in baseball already in just his third season.
Yeah. Another Seattle Mariner we'll talk about too, that has been effective is, we've talked about him on the podcast before, trying to keep pace moving, is Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert is a stud. He has compiled a .40 ERA so far with the Seattle Mariners. And that does not lead baseball. It did not lead baseball in the month of April. That was instead led by Pablo Lopez of the Miami Marlins. Marlins, I mean, we talked about so much about Sandy Alcantara and Pablo Lopez. They're ace right now. You know, like we said, baseball is weird. And Logan Gilbert, I know this was a guy me and Jake were insanely high on, as just really coming in and holding down a Seattle Mariners rotation that honestly desperately needs it.
Yeah, one thing about the Marlins, I always seen them as being. I thought they would become what the Blue Jays are now, just over because you see the pitching that they got, and they got young talent scattered all over the place. Mr. Jazz Chisholm, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's been a nice guy to have in fantasy too. I've had him since prior to his debut, and of course you picked up Soler. You just have a scrappy team, but yeah, I mean, as far as Pablo Lopez, I'm surprised that he's this well, I guess, but he's doing this well. But yeah, that rotation is really scary. God forbid they had an offense. Like,
yeah. The only thing for Lopez is that he just has to stay healthy. He's dealt with shoulder problems for the last couple of years. So as long as he stays healthy, he's obviously not going to pitch to a sub-1 ERA, but he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. And same with Logan Gilbert. He's performing. He's breaking out right before our eyes, and he doesn't even have a feel for his slider and changeup right now. So if he ever gets that down, he might get his ERA even lower.
Yeah, like it's just been a really good time for young pitchers in the league. Moving on to a couple of the older guys. We talked about younger guys. The WHIP leaders are for the ALs, Justin Verlander, and for the NL, the WHIP leader is Clayton Kershaw. Guys that have been around forever since we were all kids.
Yeah.
Cool to see. Won't touch a whole lot on it just because it's the WHIP leaders so far. Clayton Kershaw obviously buoyed a little bit by 7 innings of a perfect game, which is pretty interesting. With Verlander, Verlander's been really solid to start the year, despite feeling like he's 50 years old. But he's been a really good arm so far for the Astros.
He's almost like Tom Brady, Justin Verlander is. You just feel like he's going to be done at any point.
Yeah,
he just still remains elite. It's insane.
Yeah.
So moving on to strikeouts leaders. Strikeouts leaders and F4 are where me and Jake are going to kind of be in the mud. Strikeouts leaders, we love this guy. The AL strikeout leader is Shane McClanahan. We all know how nasty Shane McClanahan is. 41 strikeouts in the month of April, incredible. He's so fantastic from throwing from the left side. And then NL strikeout leader is Carlos Rodon. Me and Jake were not high on Rodon.
Yeah.
Jake might be a little bit more high on him now. I'm going to be bearish on my take, and I'll be wrong the whole season. But Giants ace Carlos Rodon, NL strikeout leader.
Yeah, I mean, I of course Jake's the guy to talk about this, but Rodon has been really, oh my goodness, literally 23 innings pitched. He got 38 strikeouts. He's pitching like a Aroldis Chapman out there, like in his prime. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, but the Giants just have a knack for just getting the most out of their starting pitchers. And you take somebody that already had a good year, and now you might have an early Cy Young candidate, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, definitely. He's looking like the best pitcher in baseball right now, which is saying something with the league-wide offense being so down that there's so many good pitchers right now. But Rodon, I mean, we've talked about it probably every episode, I feel like, of Free Baseball about how we are just going to look so stupid for fading him this offseason. And another guy, when we get to the F4 leaders, we should probably get to.
Yeah, the AL F4 leader to go along with Carlos Rodon's NL leading 1.2 F4. AL leader is Kevin Gausman of the Toronto Blue Jays, 1.4 F4. We were kind of bearish on Gausman too. He's a guy that really relies on his splitter, and we kind of acknowledged the fact that, well, if his splitter's not really working for him, then it's just not really going to work for him. He's just going to have a bad day, and he has completely shut us up. He has yet to walk anybody this year. And he has been just ridiculous for the Blue Jays.
Stop working. Yeah. It's like,
yeah. So, we look wrong. Sometimes you just got to take the L, though. It is what it is. Gausman, former San Francisco Giant, of course, got the run through the cheating lab. And now he's just never going to walk anybody ever again.
That splitter's been insane. Blue Jays just have so many good guys. But yeah, well, I'm looking stupid that the two best pitchers in baseball are the two that I was fading the most this offseason. God. But let me just run through the players of the month real quick so that we can hit the standings, because I don't think we're going to have time to talk about these guys.
Yeah.
Because we got the basketball podcast coming up next, Deep Tapes from 3, so stay tuned for that. The top hitters of the month were Jose Ramirez, Nolan Arenado. Talked about them. Top pitchers were Logan Gilbert and Pablo Lopez, the ERA leaders. The top rookies were Steven Kwan, who we had a whole podcast on basically the first week of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about him, and Seiya Suzuki as well. The Japanese League standout, NPB All-Star, Seiya Suzuki, looking good in the MLB, and the relievers of the year, the saves leaders, Jordan Romano and Josh Hader. So those are your players of the month. We'll be hitting those every month, so stay tuned to Free Baseball Podcast as we go forward. And now let's I'll turn it back over to Davis as we hit the standings check in and go over the best records and the worst records in baseball. We got the bolded ones are best and worst records in their own league, and the underlined ones are best and worst record in the major leagues.
Okay. Well, we'll start it off talking about the New York Yankees leading baseball with a 15-6 record to start the year, contrasting, the bottom feeder Baltimore Orioles, who are somehow still tied for worst record in their respective league with the Texas Rangers, both at 7-14. The Yankees have started out really hot. The pitching is kind of getting into the groove of things. Garrett Cole had a couple bumpy first starts. Their offense has looked really legit to start the year. I'll let Isaiah talk about it a little bit, obviously being the resident Yankees fan. But Yankees looking good. We kind of dogged them and we faded them in favor of the Toronto Blue Jays, which I'm still not changing my opinion on. I think the Yankees are going to fall apart a little bit. But starting the year, really good.
Let me just have this moment, okay? So I see them underlined and they're bolded. I don't know if I'm ever going to see that again, because I recognize the schedule that we had. I mean, we've had a relatively easy schedule starting off the season, but no matter what, we're 15-6. We have the best record in baseball. You got the home run, league leader in Anthony Rizzo. So I'm going to take this for what it is. Now, do I think the Jays are coming? Yes, I do. I believe the schedule is going to get tougher. I think the Jays themselves are going to be the one that's probably responsible for knocking us out. But nevertheless, I believe we may have something here, okay? This offense, I said early on in the season, look, if everything clicked and everything went how it was supposed to, you have a legitimate shot. And guess what? Things are going right now how they're supposed to. Will they for the whole entire season? No. But might it be enough to get us into the wild card? That's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let Isaiah have his moment and let the Yankees stand with that 15-6 record. Yeah, the Orioles and the Rangers at the bottom of the AL makes sense for the Orioles. Rangers, on the other hand, spent a lot of money this offseason, and it's not looking too good so far. But let's hit the National Leagues that we have just a couple minutes to bring in the closer at the end of the podcast.
Of course. So tied for the National League lead with best record are the New York Mets, World Series favorite Milwaukee Brewers, who are 15-7 and probably the worst division in baseball at the moment. Evidenced by the worst team in baseball being Cincinnati Reds, who have a 3-18 record. And I'll get on my soapbox for a second before handing it back over to you guys and say that it's good. I'm glad that the Reds have a 3-18 record. That's what they deserve. It's really what they deserve. And I hate that the Oakland Athletics don't have a worse record because they've just completely sold out to be a terrible team after having a contending team for a while. Just for favor of, we're a small market, I'm not going to spend any money. When my pockets, good. I'm glad that their stupid owner and CFO came out and said, well, what else are you guys going to do, fans? Not come to our games to watch the worst team in baseball? And congratulations, that's what they're doing. So, you've alienated your fans by putting out a subpar product. You've alienated your fans for saying, hey, what else are you going to do? Not watch our subpar product? And that's what they're doing. So, good. I'm glad that the Reds are in the mud. What are you guys thinking about the Mets, the Brewers, and the Reds before we get to bringing in the closer?
I know it's not Sunday, but man, you was just preaching right now about the Reds. That was on point, period. Nothing to add. Perfect. I don't know. Like I always talked about the Pirates being probably the worst run organization. Maybe it's the Reds, and now you're seeing the fruits of that. The Mets, I got nothing to say.
Yeah. New York's got the two best teams in baseball. Pretty impressive. The Reds, I think Davis said it all. I think what I want to note in the National League is that the NL West has 4 teams, and a Major League best 4 teams with a record above 500. So that's pretty impressive. The Giants, Dodgers, Padres, and Rockies all have a over 500 record, and that's pretty good. The best division in baseball so far. Pretty cool. But I think it's time to bring in the closer. We got a fun one this week. It's Bobby Jenks. This one's pretty interesting. He had a 7-year career, We just had a guy last week, that had a 21-year career. This guy's had a 7-year career. So this one's pretty interesting. He pitched from 2005 to 2011 with the White Sox and the Red Sox. It was just 1 year with the Red Sox. He was drafted by the Angels, however, in the 5th round of the 2000 draft. He debuted in 2005, 5 years later, at age 24, with an innings pitched, or with an inning of a scoreless inning with 1 walk and 2 Ks versus the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time. He in his prime, he was a big fireballer. He threw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. He topped out at 102. He had a slider, a change, and a devastating curve. Those were his secondaries. And in his first year, his rookie year, he won the World Series with the 05 Chicago White Sox against the Astros. It was a 4-game sweep. He pitched in all 4 games, which is pretty impressive. He and Adam Wainwright are the only rookie relief pitchers or closers to earn a save in the World Series clinching game. So Bobby Jenks has, he's got some history on him. His first full season was pretty solid. That was that 05 season. He went 39 innings with 6 saves. He had a 2.75 ERA, a 1.25 WHIP, and 50 strikeouts. So he was a big strikeout guy before they were popular. He was an all-star in just his second year. He had back-to-back all-star campaigns in 2005 and 2006. In 05, he pitched 69 innings, 41 saves. He had an even 4 ERA and a 1.39 WHIP, but that came with 80 strikeouts. And in 06, he had his best season, where he went 65 innings with 40 saves again, a 2.77 ERA and a 0.89 WHIP that came along with just 56 strikeouts. So he was a big strikeout guy in his first couple of years, but he became more effective when he started trying to just get those balls, get outs in the field. He had one more effective year in 2007 before he began to fall off a little bit. That year, he went 61 innings with 30 saves, a 2.63 ERA, his career best, a 1.10 WHIP, and just 38 strikeouts. Across that season, he tied the record for the most consecutive batters retired with 41, which is super impressive because the previous record holders were starters that had done it with perfect games and no hitters in their first game. So they were just extending that streak into their next start for the first couple innings. And Bobby Jenks did that across multiple appearances as a reliever. So pretty impressive for him. The next 2 years, though, he started to fall off. He saved 29 and 27 games respectively in 08-09, and that came with 3.71 ERA and a 4.44 ERA respectively in those seasons. He was non-tendered after that 2009 season and landed a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Red Sox, and that didn't really go too well. He only pitched 14 innings. Yeah, exactly. That's all that matters. He only pitched 14 innings. He struggled with a bunch of career-altering injuries. The final straw was a botched surgery to fix bone spurs in his back. I was reading about this on Wikipedia. Apparently, he had 2 bone spurs, and the doctor started trying to fix a third, and then he sort of left it in there as a serrated edge in his back, and he sort of cut open his whole back and was leaking like spinal fluid and stuff. So he had to have an emergency surgery. He ended up suing that doctor. He made $5 million in a settlement. So it ended up being fine for him in a financial standpoint. I'm sure that was horrible. And it also ended his career. He only pitched till he was 30, but he still had a career 8.3 BWAR in 357 innings pitched with 351 strikeouts, a 3.53 ERA, and a 1.25 WHIP. Pretty solid career, even though it was cut short. He had 173 saves, which is 72nd all-time. And remember, he only pitched for 7 years. And he and Edwin Diaz are the only players to have as many innings pitched, as few innings pitched as Bobby Jenks has, and as many saves as he had. Diaz is the only one with more saves and fewer innings pitched than Bobby Jenks. But yeah, Bobby Jenks here to shut down the Free Baseball Podcast. Lucky episode number 13, and we'll be back next week on Monday. And stay tuned for the basketball podcast, Deep Takes from 3.
See you guys next time. And
Smell ya.
Takes 10.